For me, although, I can see myself as a poet, I consider myself more a visual artist that uses words. My name's James Flux. I work with body paint, photography, installation. I have a background as an event coordinator and curator. I started this whole thing about 10 years ago. I was about 21, 22, and essentially I'd read an article about art therapy, and I was dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression at the time, and it didn't really give a how-to, like what do you do as an art therapist or to engage in art therapy. So I went to the dollar store, I bought some canvas and some paint, and for me it was, how do you get your emotions out in the rawest form? And for me it was my hands. That seemed like the most intuitive thing to express. This is one of my vortex paintings. This is the one where, when I started doing the art therapy initially, I was using the canvas like a drum. This is what the paintings became. This one's called Violet Flame. This is the one that took me about a month. I would say there's maybe 20 layers on top of each other, and each layer takes about 6 hours, 8 hours to dry. So this piece I called Chapter 1 because it represents the first time I put this project on canvas. This I call Flux Visions. It's my photography. And then I body painted the model, and then I edited it and put it on essentially a frame, so she's kind of popping out. And then what I've done is I've grayed the background, and then I've put graffiti tags in order to recreate the streets. In the past, I had found myself, writing random thoughts in bathroom stalls, in various places like bus stops, and I decided to revisit this idea because a lot of my writing was very simple, one-liners, and it seems like a really good medium to use in the streets. They're all my random thoughts. Usually the night before, I'll kind of sit down. I'll see kind of what I'm going through. The work is always, only a few words, a few sentences, because you have a very limited amount of time in order to grab people's attention. And then I'm always looking for places where people will stop for maybe a few minutes, a few seconds even. So the gray boxes at lights are a favorite of mine. Any lights really, or green boxes, just, open spaces where I know someone will stand for a few seconds, maybe kind of look over, take it in, and maybe they'll be going through something at the time and that will resonate with them. I do have other things that I'm involved with, and I have a lot of connections in the street art scene in Toronto, and I've started to make connections in New York and Montreal, but it really is a global community. And a lot of the people I've become friends with in Toronto have a global reach, because you meet people online and maybe you trade stickers or some paper, paste, and then, I'll put them up in Toronto, they'll put me up in, say, Montreal. Toronto it's growing. I think it's in a good place. I think it's a bit behind Montreal or New York, but I find more and more there's a scene growing, and there's an appetite for something bigger. I'm enchanted by the idea of the magic behind it, because although, maybe a few hundred people will see it, I know that in those hundreds of people, one person might actually be going through something at that time, and there might be this moment where they actually feel seen or heard.